Next today, you can banish those winter blues with Judith Chalmers, who wishes you were here. You're watching London Weekend Television.
Istanbul, body and soul, awakes to the morning cry of the muezzin. Hello and welcome to Wish You Were Here, and to one of the world's most intriguing cities. Istanbul is different, an exotic spot for a weekend. And to prove it, I'm going to take you through an Istanbul day, from dawn to dark, and show you that at every moment of that day, you can find something to do that's different from pretty well anywhere else in Europe. And that includes some colourful shopping. Also this week, John Carter finds a part of Scotland he's never seen before. And Floella Benjamin visits a part of Belgium you might have never thought of for a family holiday. That's later, and so is Istanbul. We start north of the border with John on a journey of discovery.
Over the years, I've visited Scotland many times. I've been to the lowlands, the highlands and the islands, and I've admired its rugged coast and magnificent countryside. But in all those years, this is the first time I've ever been here.
Edinburgh is obviously regal. The very air of the city seems to demand a viceroy. Those were the words of H.V. Morton on his first visit in 1929, and I can do no better than echo them. This is a capital city in every sense, with a proud history. Look up and you see that history in stone, armed and impregnable. As one who's visited more castles than most, I approached this one with excitement and found it fascinating. They fire a signal gun here every day at 1 o'clock. Why not midday, I asked. Because one shot's cheaper than 12, said my guide. Not for the first time, I guess. In Edinburgh Castle are displays of arms and armour and uniforms, and crown jewels older than those in the Tower of London. On the castle esplanade, a fountain marks the spot where witches were once burned. Edinburgh's past has its dark, sad side, but more of that later. The Palace of Holyrood House is the Queen's official residence in Scotland, but when she's not in residence, you can take a guided tour, as you can of the castle, by the way. This was one place I simply had to visit.
And I've had to come to Greyfriars to check out the legend of Bobby.
Greyfriars Bobby was the Skye Terrier who stayed at his master's grave here for 14 years. Was that through devotion, or simply because he got a meal every day from a nearby pub? My base for this visit was a hotel on the Royal Mile, very convenient for the sights and the shops. The shops are convenient anyway. Here, the products of Scotland are gathered under one roof: pottery, bagpipes, shortbread and tartans. Watch the craftsmen and women at work, then, if you like, buy what they're making. They've even got an up-to-date way of tracing any Scottish ancestry you may have. It gives them a chance to sell you a tartan after all.
Can you find out if I've got a tartan?
Was it found?
The computer confirmed I was no Highlander, but though my roots are in Worcestershire, the name does have a Scottish connection.
Right, it's a lowland name, so it won't be attached to a clan, so you won't have a tartan.
Oh,
It's
a lowland.
Carter. It was recorded in Kelso in the 15th century.
Oh, so I'm not quite a Sassenach, am I?
No, not quite.
Thank you.
Edinburgh's Georgian district is called Newtown, which puts the city's history into proper perspective. An elegant area too. Quite a contrast to the alleyways and slopes of the Castle Hill. The castle is the city's #1 attraction. Number 2 is the Royal Botanic Garden, a little to the north of Newtown. Back on the Royal Mile, the Museum of Childhood is unmissable as well as being free. But discovering that the companions of your childhood, Meccano, Dinky, Hornby, are now museum pieces does make you feel your age. If you enjoy visiting interesting museums and galleries, then Edinburgh will certainly suit you. It's a city rich in art. The National Gallery of Modern Art on the edge of the city centre houses the finest collection of 20th century paintings and sculpture in Scotland. Whether it's all to your liking is another matter. Edinburgh by day is a feast of fine architecture and history, a city for sightseeing and shopping. By night it still glows, though a few yards from that witch's fountain is a most unusual restaurant.
There are scores of places where you can eat out in Edinburgh, but not one of them is quite like the Witchery.
The darker side of old Edinburgh is reflected in some of her pubs. Maggie Dixon's is named for a woman who survived a public hanging, but beyond the gallows humour, there's a lot of lively fun.
Well, that's Edinburgh, a fine and stately city, and having discovered it, I shall certainly take the first opportunity to return. But I haven't been here entirely alone. For part of the time, I've had the pleasure of the company of Anne Davis. Anne, you have to do a lot of special research when you go on your projects. How did you set out with Edinburgh? How did it start?
Information office, first time. And I found they were very helpful. Bearing in mind that the tourist offices are very crowded, I think it's probably better to write in advance and say you are a disabled person coming to Edinburgh and you would like any information they can give you.
What's this shop mobility? What's that?
Shop mobility, an excellent scheme, and it's run for the visitor as well as the residents. And it basically means that you can have on free loan a powered chair or an ordinary chair for the day. You go down there and they have about half a dozen different types of chairs, so that, for different types of disability. But they will not let you out of their sight until they think you're safe. Now, I tried one, and it was quite obvious it wasn't for me. So they hauled me out again. But again, I must emphasize, they will not let you have that chair for 1 minute unless you've passed their test and that you're safe and not going to damage everything in Edinburgh.
You weren't able to use this,
No.
fair enough. So how did you get about?
Well, very well. I mean, they have a third of their taxis are adapted for use for people in wheelchairs. But it isn't only use for people in wheelchairs. Anyone with arthritis or anyone who can't walk too far, with those wide doors, they can get in and out easily. So it's a good way of getting around the town.
What about the hotel? What was
You
it
mean
from your point of view?
The castle?
The castle, yes.
Yes, the castle built 1990. Very accessible. I like the automatic doors and plenty of space inside. You can get to the bars and all the rest of it. Well, in the bedroom, the telephone, believe it or not, was the other side of the room for the bed, which meant you had to fall out of the bed or get into your wheelchair to go the other side of the room to get to the telephone. Then in the bathroom, although it was nice to see a shower there, anyone who wished to move sideways onto the lavatory from their wheelchair wouldn't be able to do it because of this huge grab rail by the side of the lavatory.
Is there one single memory that you're going to carry away with you?
Yes. The highest spot, which is the castle, and the highest spot within the castle walls, and that is the chapel. I thought that was so beautiful, quiet, so old, and I had got there, despite the cobble, despite everything.
Since we were in Edinburgh, you may have seen that there was a fire in that hotel, the Scandic Crown. Well, it's due to reopen in July, when some of the improvements that Anne recommended will also have been made. Then, 2 nights bed and breakfast with Golden Rail, who include return train fares, cost £197. That's travelling from London. Our rummage through the bargain basement this week comes up with a week on the Norfolk Broads for £44 a head. The way to do it? Hire one of Ho Season's 10-berth cruisers in spring and get another family to help fill it and share the cost. Or you can have a fortnight's camping in France for as little as £16.50 each, including ferry fares. But 6 have to travel in April or September. Eurosites do that holiday. We'll take the break now, another brush with Istanbul in part 2, also Floella in the Belgian Ardennes. See you in a moment.
Now we're turning our fares upside down in the EC. With the Lufthansa best price guarantee, we match all scheduled fares. This obviously doesn't please everybody. Oh. Lufthansa, at the best price, guaranteed. Oh, special limitations apply. For information, call 0800 300 747 anytime.
So, where shall I put these?
You're not starting to unpack already.
I can't relax until it's all done.
Don't forget the electricity's off. Shall we get on with it then?
No rush. No rush.
Dow Egberts. Real coffee, real aroma.
We go there.
We do that.
We go there.
We do that.
We go there.
We do that.
We don't go there.
We do that.
We go there.
We don't do that.
We go there.
We do that.
At Thomson, we spend 52 weeks a year, making your 2 weeks perfect.
Welcome back. I'm standing on the continent of Asia. The next country in that direction, although it is several hundred miles away, is Iraq. Over there, what's some 2 miles, is the continent of Europe. And the city you can just about see on the shoreline is Istanbul. So's this. And the water in between us is the Bosphorus. This is where the sensations of the Middle East inhabit a city of the West, where the foreign meets the familiar, where the handcart meets the tram. Istanbul in Turkey is where the culture of Arabia is observed in the customs of the Mediterranean. You can cross the Bosphorus by bridge. The one built in 1973 has become one of the city's landmarks, or by ferry. There's no question about how I'm going to do it. Arriving in Istanbul by bridge is like holding hands with gloves on. Half the pleasure's gone. It's one of the best 20 minutes in travel. 35 pence well spent. Thank you very much. How much is that? 2,000. All the sights and sounds of a romantic waterway. The taste, too, of bittersweet tea. Behind us, that massive building is the hospital where Florence Nightingale nursed casualties from the Crimean War. To port, the Golden Horn, the estuary which bisects the old and new cities. And ahead, the thrilling prospect of Istanbul itself. What an entry! St. Sophia, one of the most dramatic buildings in this city, or any other come to that. Built in 532 AD, it's colossal. For 900 years, it was a Christian church, until the fall of Constantinople, the old name for Istanbul. Then it became a mosque, for another 500 years. Now it's a museum. Opposite San Sofia is another quite breathtaking building, the Blue Mosque. The dome seems almost translucent, with decorations as delicate as on porcelain. In fact, it's rather like being inside an enormous and beautiful teacup. Then on to the Topkapi Museum, the former forbidden city of the Ottoman sultans. They're long gone, their harem with them, the sumptuous rooms of their private palace. But fabulous fragments of their treasure are left. Enough gold to make copper rare. Emeralds the size of traffic lights. The dagger Maximilian Schell tried to steal in the film Topkapi. And a diamond larger than a ping-pong ball, too big even for Liz Taylor's finger. Well, if all that looking makes you want to touch, come with me to the Kasbah. Or, as they call it here, the bazaar. Again, it's huge. 4,000 shops, all under one arched roof. Thank you. Proves it's Turkey. The bazaar displays most of what there is to buy in Istanbul, but even after haggling, you'll probably do better on price and quality in specialist shops outside. £173? Yes. Oh no, that's much too much. The spice market, on the other hand, is less predictable. The one thing that was hard to find was spice. Not a lot of cinnamon, but plenty of caviar and Turkish delight. Actually, the Turks' real delight is to sell something. Anything. Thank you. Yeah, there's some Turkish delight there. Yes. Oh!
This is also not too sweet. You
can't get my teeth through it. Istanbul is an exciting city. It's pretty scruffy though, and the atmospheric pollution can be dreadful. I mean, the last couple of days, the choking smog of coal smoke has been hanging right over the city.
Like meat, fish.
The day rolls on and the Turks are still selling. These are restaurateurs in the former flower market, now an arcade of eating places. Try a meze, a selection of dishes like Spanish tapas. It'll work out at around £3 a head. We stayed at the Pera Palace. It's a likeable old hotel, if a bit run down and ramshackle these days. Apart from the rooms they've done up, it has rather more character than fresh paint. The creaking mahogany lift says it all, really. A 3-night weekend break at the Pera Palace, with bed and breakfast and scheduled flights from Heathrow, costs from £306, with sovereign cities.
Judging by our post, package holiday supplements are on a lot of minds at the moment. These are the extras you pay for the convenience of flying from a local airport, having a single room in the hotel and so on. Now, I'll be commenting on supplements in a later programme, but in the meantime, if you have got a supplement story to tell, why not drop me a line?
Our Istanbul day is turning into evening. Time to take a bath. A Turkish bath, naturally, in a 400-year-old bathhouse. Well, this is a first. It's incredibly hot in here. It's about 110 degrees, and the massage is still to come. I think this is just the moment to go to Belgium and Floella Benjamin. She looked at a family holiday centre near Wielsaun in the Ardennes.
When people talk about the Ardennes, you tend to think of pâté. But when you get here, you realise that there's much more to it. In fact, the French writer Victor Hugo once described it as sometimes a ravine, often a garden, always a paradise. It's changed a little since his day, but he was almost right. This area is still one of the most beautiful and unexplored parts of Western Europe.
There are rivers twisting between meadows and tree-clad hills, and sturdy grey-stone buildings from a bygone age. Everywhere you look, you're confronted with views which seem to belong to the front of picture postcards. You almost get that feeling of being the only soul in the world. Mind you, there's another more energetic side of holidaying in the Ardennes. At this holiday centre, you can pursue a whole different range of sports and activities, indoors or out, day or night. And you don't need to be an expert to take part either. There's something for everyone, and at every level of skill. The kids have a swinging time too. But be warned, you have to pay extra for some of the activities. Under the same roof there are shops, a supermarket, bars and plenty of restaurants. The food was a little disappointing though. Not a culinary experience. Definitely nothing to write home about. And you had to wait ages for it to arrive. But if you want to avoid what seems to be the customary long wait, you can always visit the deli and prepare your own meals. The villas are bright, clean and colourful, and they're very well equipped. It's worth remembering, though, that the bathroom's downstairs if you want to get up at nights. The bedrooms are quite small. Oh, and mind your head on those beams. Back in the aqua park, the wave machine gives a whole new meaning to the term swept off your feet. The temperature never falls below 29 degrees centigrade, so you can sunbathe all year round. And whoever designed this place loves kids. There's something for all age groups. But I don't think all the pâté in the Ardennes would tempt me on that water shoot.
There's a hive of activity here inside this subtropical bubble, which is the perfect place to be if the weather's bad. But if the sun's shining, you just got to get out and discover the surrounding countryside.
A holiday in the Ardennes is all about the great outdoors. Much of the activity focuses on the river where you can canoe, or amid all the spectacular scenery, take the family out in a rubber dinghy, or just laze around on the riverbank. One afternoon, I joined a group of riders for a trek through the forest, an experience I wouldn't have missed for anything. It was great seeing the shafts of sunlight through the trees and breathing in the clear, pine-scented air. There's no doubt about it, you get a different perspective of the scenery from the saddle, and soon controlling half a ton of horsepower becomes almost second nature. Just as relaxing is a trip on the chairlift which takes you past the cool waterfall to a peak high above the Armblair Valley. On the way up there are some superb views, but to enjoy it you do need a head for heights. Back on terra firma at the Telecoux Fun Park, would-be Formula One champions can put in a practice lap for the Belgian Grand Prix. For some of the attractions, you might wish you'd brought along your waterproofs. Mind you, saves taking a shower. For others, it's advisable not to travel on a full stomach. What with go-karts and bumper boats, bobsleighs and wild water run, the park crams an amazing amount of activity into a small area. For something a little more sedate, you can join a little train which winds its way through Telecoux's Wildlife Park. The journey takes about 40 minutes. Along the way, you can make friends with some of Ardennes' most famous residents. Now, it's not every day I come face to face with a wild boar. Or a deer, for that matter.
This part of the Ardennes is tailor-made for families. I've come across families from all over Europe here. I found this place quite exhilarating. It's great for adults who want to be active, or for those who just want to take in the air. But most of all, it's a haven for children. There's so much for them to do, they'll never get bored. And as all parents know, if the kids are happy, then you're happy.
Here we go!
A week's self-catering at that Sun Park with Belgian travel service cost from £346 for 4 people, car ferry included. Well, I've had my bath, you'll be pleased to hear. I'm so relaxed and oh so clean. Ready for the Istanbul nightlife now, but before I go, let me remind you about the competition. you could actually win a holiday for two to any of the destinations we've covered in the series so far, if you answer this question correctly. What was the former name of Istanbul? Constantinople or Baghdad? If you know the answer, here's the number to call: 0891 33 55 22. And the lines are open until midnight on Sunday. The answer to last week's question, the name of the police series in which Eric Richard appears, is The Bill. And the prize? A holiday in Mauritius. Good luck with that. Another competition next week when the programme comes from South America. I'm off to Venezuela, land of the Angel Falls, from where I'll be reporting on both packaged and independent holidays. John Carter will be on Mallorca, assessing the pros and cons of self-catering. And Anna Walker will be beside the seaside in Cornwall. Something for everyone there, I hope. Then I'll see you next week, won't I? Until then, bye-bye.
And you can join Judith and the team on their travels at the same time, 5 o'clock next Sunday.
A fact sheet produced in association with Thomas Cook can be had by sending a postcard to Wish You Were Here Fact Sheet 9, P.O. Box 50, Bromley, BR2 9TT.